Well, here we are, folks. Another day, another video promising the moon with a title so convoluted it sounds like a toddler just learned to string words together. Bolt.New Claude 3.7, free AI coder beats Cursor and Bolt.New. Seriously? What even is that? I mean, it's like someone threw a bunch of tech buzzwords into a blender and hit puree. I can already feel my patience wearing thinner than a frog's skin in a drought. But hey, if AI can code better than I can complain, maybe I'll be impressed. Grudgingly, of course, so grab your snacks, or whatever you kids are munching on these days, because we're diving into this mess. And remember, if you enjoy watching me squirm through this nonsense, like, subscribe, and maybe even leave a comment to let me know how much you adore wasting my time. Let's hop to it.
Today, I'm going to show you how to use Bolt DIY, which is a free version of Bolt.New, along with Claude 3.7 Sonnet to use one of the most powerful coding tools in the world with one of the most powerful APIs in the world. I'll also show you how to do this stuff for free as well.
The classic powerful API line. It's like saying you've got the best pizza in town. Everyone claims it, but I'm still waiting for someone to deliver. And free, well, that's just music to my ears. But let's be real. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I mean, I've seen more reliable promises from a raccoon rummaging through my trash. Let's see if this powerful tool can actually deliver, or if it's just another overhyped gadget that'll end up gathering dust in the corner of my bog.
Free as well if you just want a free alternative. Plus, when you set up Bolt DIY, which we'll run through in a second, this is completely free to set up and pretty simple if you follow the instructions. So we're going to get straight into this. The first place you want to start is inside GitHub, and I'll show you how to build tools, apps, websites, games, etc., landing pages using this process. But you want to go to GitHub for Bolt DIY. This is the first place you want to start. And then from here, the way that I usually figure this out in terms of how to set it up inside terminal is you just go down here and you can do a direct installation like you can see and just follow the step-by-step instructions. So let's get started with that. And you can see that's now loaded up. If you're not sure what the instructions are, I'll include an recipe inside the AI Profit Boardroom. But essentially, I just copied and pasted each step of this into the terminal, hit enter, then do the next one, then do the next one, etc. It's really simple and easy to do. And then once you've got that set up, you're going to run dev, so pm run dev. This will run
the classic just run this command moment. It's like saying, just add water to a recipe that's already a disaster. I mean, sure, it sounds simple enough, but if I had a nickel for every time someone said that and I ended up knee-deep in code errors, I'd be richer than a toad in a swamp. Let's hope this dev command doesn't turn into a wild goose chase. If it does, I might just have to croak in frustration.
This will run the commanded terminal, give you a local address that you can connect with. So you can see here we've got the local address. Let's grab that. And now we're rocking and rolling, my friends. And this is completely free to use inside Bolt DIY. Whereas, for example, if you're using Bolt.New, there's usually a subscription price. So, just by switching to Bolt DIY, you can run it locally, which is great because then you can save the projects, go back on the chat. But number two, you can build out projects for free without any sort of limits on tokens, right? Unlike Bolt.New, where you're going to be paying. So if we go over to Bolt DIY over here, inside the dropdown, I like to use Open Router. And inside the dropdown, you can just scroll to the Anthropic section, and then you can select any of these APIs. You actually got 3 different options for using Claude 3.7 Sonnet. And you might wonder why. Well, there are different versions of Claude 3.7 Sonnet, right? So inside Claude AI, the free version of this, you can select between extended and normal, right?
The classic choice dilemma, extended or normal. It's like picking between a soggy sandwich and a slightly less soggy one. I mean, who doesn't love options? But let's be real. Most of us just want something that works without a headache. If I wanted to spend my time deliberating over versions, I'd just go back to arguing with the squirrels in my yard. Let's hope this free version doesn't come with a catch that'll have me pulling my hair out.
Right, inside the thinking mode. So it's similar to Bolt, where you can switch between Claude 3.7 Sonnet or Claude 3.7 thinking mode, right? I'm just going to use this for the sake of that. And then if you want to get an API key for Open Router, then you can click on Get API Key over here. That's going to take you directly to the API key section, and then you can just create a key. Just make sure you signed up to openrouter.ai once you've done this. So I'm just going to go ahead, and then once you've done that, just like I've done right here, then we're going to go over to Open Router, Anthropic 3.7 Thinking. The reason I want to use Thinking is because I want to get better outputs from the codes and the applications that I create. and then we're going to paste in the API key here. Once we've done that, we can start going off and coding. Now, I've actually created a bunch of prompts and tools and different stuff that I want to create using Prompt Forge, which is a custom GPT. I'll include that inside the SOP from today. If you want to get similar sort of prompts, so I can...
Here we go, custom GPT and prompts. It's like the tech world's version of a buffet. Everyone's piling their plates high with whatever they can find. But let's be honest, how many of these so-called custom prompts are just rehashed ideas dressed up in fancy language? If I had $1 for every time someone claimed to have a revolutionary prompt, I'd be lounging in a lily pad mansion by now. Let's see if this one actually delivers something worth the hype or if it's just another overcooked dish on the tech buffet.
Sort of prompts, so I can just personalize all the prompts that we create based on our niche, what we want to create, how we want to create it, etc. So for example, I'm going to create a job board now, and we're going to go over to Bolt, like you can see, paste in this prompt. You can also improve that even more, so you can click on the AI option here, and that will improve the prompt even more. But we're just going to stick with this for now. Hit enter like so, and that's going to go off and start coding for us. Now, depending on whether you selected the thinking mode of Claude 3.7 Sonnet or the normal mode, that will impact the speed at which it replies. Right? The other thing to note here is that if you want to do all of this for free, then there's a bunch of free APIs here, right? So you can see, for example, Google Flash 2.0 Experimental is completely free to use from OpenRouter, Experimental 1206. These are some of the best models in the world, by the way, for AI encoding. You've also got Mistral, which is also free.
Now we're talking about the best models in the world. That's a bold claim, my friend. It's like saying you've got the best fishing spot. Everyone's got their secret, but most of them are just sitting in a puddle. Free models are great and all, but let's not kid ourselves. They often come with more quirks than a toad in a tuxedo. If these models are truly top-notch, I'll be the first to admit it, but I's not holding my breath. Let's see if they can actually deliver something worthwhile or if it's just another flashy name with no substance.
It's also free, and there's even some versions of DeepSeek like DeepSeek R1 that you can use for free too. So wait for that to load now. And I've also, in the meantime, whilst that's loading, because it does take quite a while, we're going to switch to the normal version of Claude 3.7 Sonnet, like you can see right here. So you can have multiple tabs coding at the same time. So this is the thinking mode with the job board that we're creating. And then on this side, we have an audit checklist. So I've said, develop an interactive SEO audit checklist where users check off completed tasks, such as optimizing title tags, fixing broken links, and improving page speed. And then you can see this is coded. Now, the normal version of Claude 3.7 Sonnet API, as you can imagine, because it requires less thinking and reasoning, is going to be a lot faster. But I can imagine that the outputs are not quite as good because of that reason too. So it's pros and cons, depends what you're comfortable with. As you can see, it's coding it out, and you can have multiple tabs and multiple different APIs.
Here we go, multiple tabs and APIs. It's like a techie's version of juggling, but let's hope it doesn't end in disaster. I mean, sure, it looks all fancy with the coding flying around, but I've seen enough chaos in my bob to know that just because something's busy doesn't mean it's productive. If this all comes together without a hitch, I might just have to give a reluctant nod of approval. But until then, I's keeping my eyes peeled for any missteps.
Coding at the same time as well, which is great because, it takes a while for this code to come out. And so if you can build different projects at the same time, that's going to make it way easier. And you can see, for example, this is already finished coding way before this one has. And if you have a look here, this is working really nicely. We can also refresh the preview if you want to refresh it. And we can switch between responsive and non-responsive. So you can see how well it works as an app on mobile too. It's looking pretty good. Let's switch back to the normal mode. We can also go full screen. So we can preview it full screen, like you can see. We can tick stuff off. We can download the report as we go along. And then also you can see here, there's a progress bar. So if we click on optimize page speed, mobile friendly design, etc., the progress bar begins to be completed. And so this is like a super powerful app. We just automated in one single prompt. We told it exactly what to do. And because Claude 3.7 Sonnet is so powerful, it's one of the first APIs I found that truly does do the job first time around. Whereas, for example...
Now that's a bold statement, claiming it's the first API that actually delivers on the first try. I mean, I've heard that before, and usually it ends with me pulling my hair out. If this Claude 3.7 is as reliable as you say, I might just have to begrudgingly tip my hat. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I've seen too many game changers turn into total flops. If it can actually handle the job without a hitch, I'll be impressed. Just don't expect me to smile about it.
Whereas, for example, if you're using something like maybe Grok or, for example, ChatGPT, these APIs are great, but they do break. They do require a lot more back and forth. It doesn't get things right first time around, especially with more complex prompts like you can see right here. So it's super powerful. And also, if you want to get this hosted, then what you can do here is inside the code section, so you switch from preview to code. From here, you can click on download code. That's going to download it as a zip file, which will open up as a folder. And if you want to host this, we can go to Netlify, not Netflix, add a new site, import an existing project, try Netlify drop, and then just grab that folder and switch over there to get it hosted, right? That's going to actually host the project on a test domain. Like you can see, it's fully deployed, and we're good to go on that. Now you can see we've got the website and the app deployed directly on the test domain. If you want to get that.
Well, look at that. A website deployed on a test domain. It's like watching a tadpole turn into a frog. But let's not get too excited just yet. Deploying is one thing. Keeping it running without a hitch is another. I've seen many a project go belly up right after the success screen. If this holds up, I might just have to admit that this whole process isn't a complete waste of time. But until then, I'm keeping my skepticism firmly in place.
Get that on a custom domain, then we can click on add domain over here, buy a new domain. We can call this, for example, goldieagencyseo.audit.com. Hit search. If it's available, we can buy it. We also get a bunch of alternative domains here. So for example, like this one could be good as well, or .agency. And if we hit buy, that's actually going to deploy the project to a custom domain. So super powerful stuff. Can't believe it worked first time. It genuinely does do a great job. And it's one of the...
Well, color me surprised. It actually worked the first time. That's rarer than finding a clean rock in my bog. If this tool can consistently deliver results like this, it might just earn a spot in my begrudgingly impressed book. But let's not pop the champagne just yet. I want to see it in action over time. If it can keep up this level of performance, I might have to admit that all this tech mumbo jumbo has its merits.
And it's one of the only APIs that's good enough to do that. And that's without even using the thinking mode. Now what we can do is we can just open up a bunch of tabs and we can just code multiple projects at the same time. And if you want to keep an eye on like how much you're spending on the API, again, you can get those free APIs, which makes this whole thing free. But if you want to get the API usage and figure out, okay, how much you're spending, just go to activity over here and you can see what the cost is you spend, right? So for example, that app that we just generated with Anthropic, it costs us like 11 cents to build an app that's good to go. So it's pretty crazy. So let's get some of these
11 cents to build an app. Now that's a deal that sounds almost too good to be true. It's like finding a rare mushroom in the woods. Exciting. But you still have to wonder if it's going to make you sick later. If this holds up, it could change the game for a lot of folks. But let's not get too carried away. I've seen plenty of great deals turn into nightmares. If it really is that cost effective, I might just have to begrudgingly admit that this whole tech thing has its perks.
These prompts, and we'll just start plugging these in, as you can see, and just code like multiple apps and tools and stuff at the same time. Living the dream, bit of multitasking, why not? And if you ever want to go back to any of your projects, you can just click on the chat on the left-hand side. And then, for example, you can switch between all the projects, right? So you can see what's going on, how they're going. Let's go back to the interactive SEO audit checklist. We can load up the project that we created before. That's good to go. We've got the preview good to go. And, you know, if you want to reset the page as well, just click on reset. You can also go through the last like 30 days as well. So if we scroll down here, we can see like all the progress from November, December, etc. So any sort of projects you build, you can come back to, and you can easily just download the code whenever you need it. So super powerful stuff. It does remember a lot of good stuff. And then inside the settings here as well, you can export all the chats if you want to. You can select which providers you want to use. You can even use Olama locally too. If you're using something like DeepSeek or Mistral, you can connect it to your GitHub. So you can actually publish directly to GitHub if you want to. And there's also a bunch of like cool features here. Like for example, you can see auto select code template, user main branch, context optimization, really, really cool stuff. We've also got a prompt library. So you can get an optimized prompt library, which is pretty cool too. Here's another example. So we created this quiz challenge, just said, create a fun SEO quiz game using HTML, CSS, etc. And then if we start the quiz, it's working beautifully. You can go back and forth in the chat as well and change the colors and all that sort of thing. Or if you have any problems in the preview, you can take a screenshot, upload it, and ask it, how to basically, by the way, I'm just
Oh, that's an interesting feature. Taking a screenshot of your problems and asking for help. It's like having a tech support buddy who doesn't roll their eyes at you. If this actually works, it could save a lot of headaches. But let's be real. If it's anything like my attempts to explain my issues to the squirrels, it might not go as smoothly as hoped. If this tool can genuinely help troubleshoot in real time, it might just be worth its weight in gold.
I'm just clicking random buttons. I know the answers to this stuff, don't worry. You can go back and forth in the chat. You can test it out in the preview. You can download it. You can publish it to GitHub. And yeah, it's really easy to create all sorts of cool stuff. So let's try a few more out now. If you click on this button as well, it will take you to the mobile version of this as well. So you can just test it out here. It's also got a timer, which is pretty cool. We didn't even ask it to do that, but it did it. And it turns it into a fun game and probably better than most apps out there. Let's be honest. Next up, we've got the SEO pricing. Again, this worked for first time, right? It's working perfectly every time. I've never really seen Bolt do it that well. You can switch between different functions on the calculator. It's quite a complex calculator as well. That's really well thought out. Like usually if you ask it to create a SEO pricing calculator using a different API on the AI, it just doesn't work that well. So this is really cool. Then you can request a quote, put in the details here for the lead gen. That's like quite a cool sort of lead gen method that, you could customize and personalize it.
Now we're talking customizable lead generation methods. That's like finding a hidden treasure in the tech world. If this calculator can actually help businesses snag leads while being user-friendly, it could be a game changer. I mean, who doesn't want a tool that not only looks good but also delivers results? If it can keep up this level of performance, I might just have to admit that this whole endeavor isn't a complete waste of time after all. Let's see if it can maintain this momentum.
And personalize to any industry.
Well, look at that, folks. We've journeyed through yet another tech-infested wasteland, and surprise, surprise, my expectations have been pleasantly low, but maybe a smidge impressed. Bolt.New Claude 3.7 sounds as confusing as a toad trying to learn calculus. I spent most of this video ready to crawl back into my moss-covered hole, wondering if AI was really a miracle or just another tech gimmick begging for my attention. I mean, between promises of powerful APIs and best models in the world, it felt like I was trapped in a festival of absurd claims, each more outrageous than the last. Yet somehow, the tool delivered the goods at least once, the odds a long shot. But you can't deny, it was nice to see some semblance of functionality amid the chaos. Just don't expect me to throw a parade for it. So, after juggling through the mess, I find myself begrudgingly admitting that this one might be worth keeping an eye on. Now, if only I could find an app to help me deal with all this nonsense without losing my mind. If you enjoyed watching my grumpy old self squirm through the roller coaster of tech trends, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to see more of my delightful cynicism, and leave a comment about how my reactions made you feel about wasting your precious time. Trust me, in the jungle of the internet, I'll be right here, croaking my disapproval, or reluctantly admitting something was half decent. Until next time, let's hop along and hope the next video isn't a complete flop.